World Development System. Chapter 91. Lookoff smiled amusingly and said, "Anyway, this show is over after that one shot, now there would only be celebrations and headaches for some. Let's try getting close to him and his men during this banquet." Duncan nodded as he gave his suggestion, "Well, I can ask Giorgio to schedule our meeting with Lord John. He is quite close to the knights when he was at the mansion previously. His friendly nature was one of the things why I sent him here. He is unlike the arrogant guys who are too full of themselves when it comes to important matters." Marquis commented to Frank after watching this scene, "I guess there will be big turmoil in the kingdom after everyone hears of this weapon, especially the dukes, the Radiant Church and the royal family. I wonder if they will still try to pressure John via different means. Let's head to the ceremony. I hope to get some of those ballistas for my mansion and our naval fleet. I guess it's good that your son took his independent decisions, or everyone would be regretting their actions and try to mend our ways. However, I wonder how you would try to appease Joseph since you would be representing Morgan family." Frank nonchalantly said to Steve Ray, "Well, I am not too worried. I would rather have Joseph handle all the business in the north if there are some problems. As for both the duo of grandfather and grandson, they can pull their shit elsewhere. I am only interested in gains of Morgan family. Additionally, I am more interested in buying real estate and local businesses, now that the laws have slackened here and they are encouraging trade and investment. Now I am pretty sure that this town at least won't be devoured by beasts unless a lot of people attack them. Though this is risky behavior, however, last time when my son left the Morgan family, he reminded me of my past where I remembered that taking bigger risks could mean bigger gains as well. No big risks would mean no big gains as well. I guess years of hardship made me a little bit precautious." Ray nodded and agreed, "Quite true, maybe that is one of the reasons we can't achieve our goals since we are afraid of failures." Bishop Robert of Radiant Church, so that was the reason why they were confident in making and confronting multiple enemies the last time around. It seems they have decided to show their hands now. "We have a change in plans. We will try contacting the dukes and royal family for cooperation from now onwards." One of the clerics hesitantly asked Bishop Robert, "Is it really okay to cooperate with royal family? You know they are always hostile to us because of that incident 128 years ago where we exerted some of our influence on the kingdom." Bishop Robert touched the scepter in his hands as he spoke, "Well, this Baron has quite a lot of guts since he is already confronting our interests, whether it is mending relations with demons or demi-humans. Plus he is the student of that grand Podiwunner Melanie, so we always have to worry about them creating cheap drugs and reduce our influence. Additionally, we are only allying with the royal family on certain matters, so it won't have any effect. However, we would need to tread carefully not to get bitten by those jackals. However, we can still try one last time as long as he ceases his relations with that demon. You know the higher-ups pretty much hate the guts of that demon as he has assassinated a lot of higher ups in the past, however from the looks of the laws over here I don't think he will relent. Okay, let's head on and meet that head spy from the royal family." Cleric reacted as he heard this, "Well, we are already in contact with him, however, it will take a lot of time to convince them for cooperation as there is very little trust between us. However, we can still contact that Baron easily. Maybe how about enticing him with money? Our coffers are always loaded, you know." Bishop Robert gave a cunning smile as he replied to the cleric, "It's okay, even if it is done slowly it will be useful to us in the long run. Immediately contact their men. Meanwhile, tell that butler of the Baron that I intend to have a meeting with the Baron and implicitly mention our conditions, that they would have benefits as well. I want to see what sort of excuse do they have this time around to not meet me. If they ignore us again, then you should know what is their answer." "Well, I would still like to meet that Baron as I have one more hand." Watching the ballista, the royal family ambassador Luke Greenwald sighed and said to one of his men, "The matter is quite serious this time around. From the looks, I can see that he intentionally revealed this weapon 5 days before Prince Hector's banquet. Quite a cunning guy. However, he underestimates the influence of the royal family because this very weapon will be his downfall, and he is already enemies with 3 out of 4 dukes. However, I still worry if he turns to that madman. I guess the royal family will try to use the carrot and stick policy until they get this weapon. His right-hand man spoke, Lord, it seems that the Radiant Church has finally set their sights on this baron finally as they wanted to cooperate with us regarding a certain matter after watching today's show. It is a letter directly signed by Bishop Robert. Luke rebuked as he replied, do they want a pie in that weapon? If that is the case, tell him to piss off, we can lure this baron as we bribed the elders of the Lore family so the Radiant Church won't have to worry. The henchman reminded Luke of something, Master, what about that spy of Prince Hector, who has recently stolen parts of the blueprints of that soap-making machine? Don't you think the baron would be quite angry if he knows of this? Luke mocked as he said, Humph, what can he do? He is just a small baron with some fame in a small period of time. Just make sure to keep this news a secret as long as we try to make a deal with that baron, in front of interests and power, he too will bend his knee. If he doesn't bend in front of wealth, that would only mean two things. 1. He is too stupid and makes decisions based on his emotions, or 2. He has bigger ambitions and has no interest in money, which would be a bigger threat to us. Meanwhile, after this show, John saw various notifications on his menu which indicated that reputation and EXP points were increasing in and around his domain. Congratulations to host on crossing the threshold of 80 reputation points. The fact that you decided to show your power has increased the faith among the people of the domain about the safety of this city. Your current reputation points are 81/100. Congratulations on acquiring 3 million EXP points on showing military power to the people your town. Congratulations on acquiring more reputation among the traders as they respect you more unlike previously. You have 25/100 external reputation points. Congratulations on acquiring 2.5 million EXP points by showcasing your military power to the surrounding domain lords. Meanwhile, we have a special offer for you. You can acquire advanced and efficient agricultural machines to improve the productivity of your domain. It would only cost you 7 million EXP points, however you would need 85 internal reputations points, or you can get it for 14 million EXP points. As the population of your town increases, you would need more food, so I suggest you buy it. John thought as he heard the notifications, again with her scammy behavior. Nah, maybe I will need it later on, so I shouldn't dismiss it already. And it seems there are a lot of eyes from the way my reputation points jumped instantly. Taylor came and said to John, who was in his thoughts, Lord, it seems we caught the attention of a lot of people today from the way they are reacting. The representative to the Radiant Church again came today and wanted to make a meeting with you. They again implicitly said that we can have a lot of wealth as long as we stop associating, or at least start distancing from the demons. From the looks of it, it seems that the Radiant Church has quite a big grudge with Vlad and his men. Underscore 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 un. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 92. John thought and spoke, well, I can meet them, but there wouldn't be any productive talks and both parties' antagonism with each other would only increase with more disagreements. And I have already made my intentions clear when I previously announced those laws. Taylor worried said, Lord, this time, the bishop himself came personally. Bishop Robert's position in the Radiant Church is quite high as he controls the northern domain and its activities, and it seems it was also his plan where he wanted the printing machine to be made to use. Plus they would give us big trouble later on inevitably when the size of our city increases. John understood and nodded, I don't think I can agree, since he would want the paper-making technology and printing machine by hook or crook. Additionally, their ideology is quite stringent, which won't suit our interests currently. Moreover, I heard he is already in talks with the royal family. Well, he would be in for a surprise, as I already intended to make a deal with the royal family and also warn my enemies. Meanwhile, hiding our real strength, I hope we can get some time after making this deal with the royal family. As for the healing services, you won't have to worry. I already talked with Grandma Melanie and she agreed to train some pupil at the Institute in basic herbology. You too would be required to recruit more basic and intermediate herbologists for our institute from now on, as I intend to create a big laboratory for inventing and creating cheap drugs in case of an emergency. I would personally lead and act as the head of this department. You can use Master's name to attract more people and also give them the information regarding the huge funding, as they would not be short on resources when it comes to various bigger experiments. Taylor smiled as he understood John's intentions. Okay, from the looks of it, balancing the royal family and Radiant Church is quite hard, however this would at least make the royal family reduce their guard. John smiled as Taylor understood his intentions. It's good you caught on earlier. I intend to squeeze some benefits from the royal family and make a balance between the royal family and the Radiant Church. Come, let's meet the guests first. Taylor replied as remembered. Okay, Marquis Ray and others are already waiting for us in the lounge, and it seems Giorgio is here as well. From the looks of it, everyone is interested in the ballistas. The spy named Simon, who bought off the blueprints, thought as he saw the commotion and said to his men, it seems we would have to release the new type of soaps which we can make after acquiring those blueprints. However, I don't think Prince would be happy after watching this show. And there is that ambassador as well. Make sure to escort that guy, spy, out to the imperial capital. This can at least save Master's face. It was good that I acted quickly. One of his men replied, okay, we will immediately escort him to one of Lord Hector's mansion in the imperial capital. Lord Simon, as for the ambassador, he has ordered us to wait for the deal to complete before revealing the new soaps. Simon thought a bit and ordered him, you don't have to worry about it. In the end, it will be Lord Hector's decision. Just reply to him, we will consider his proposal and wait for Lord's consent on whether to abide by it or not. You just have to follow the orders. The man nodded and replied to Simon, okay Lord, I will be leaving after delivering the reply. Joseph saw Eric's good mood and asked, Eric, from the looks, you are quite excited today. I guess you are eager to take those ballistas back to your crew. Eric laughed with an excited look, haha, that's true. This weapon would indeed be a good addition for us in naval warfare, and I have already lost quite a few men by the pirate attacks recently, so I wanted to make sure to increase the morale of our crew members. This weapon would be quite a good addition to us physically as well as mentally. I am sure they are already excited after watching this show. However, I think your father and Marquis would be more surprised after watching today's show. Joseph grinned as he began to speak with pride. Well, I am quite happy with my previous decision this time around. From now on I won't have to be worried about Grandpa and the lack of resources. I have one more piece of good news. I will be the head of the Federation of the Chambers of Commerce that is going to be set up by John to keep an eye on the types and volume of goods that would be circulated in the market from now on. And it seems John is quite good at trade, from how he made those taxation rules and introduced those new accounting methods. Quite a lot of merchants were surprised to find that they weren't able to dodge taxes here, however they were quite happy with the lower taxes and the loopholes they can use in other domains. Everyone arrived back at the Square of Hope. There was a lot of commotion going on at the marketplace. It was full of people with an atmosphere similar to a festival. The surrounding hotels around Hope was a VIP area where all the important guests were staying currently. Kevin spoke to Michael, it seems, our city will flourish quite a bit after this event. I was quite worried about the beasts earlier. It seems I was worried about nothing. Michael thought as he drank his beer, so this was the thing that the officials were indicating about earlier when we inquired. I guess they made sure to keep it under wraps so that they can reveal it at the right moment. Thomas grinned and said, what have you thought about the joint animal farm in the village? Do you want to manage it? Lord's butler Taylor was very happy with your proposal and decided to invest fully in the project while only taking 70% in the big animal farm. He has said, the Lord decided to invest in your proposal and wanted to share the benefits with everyone in your settlement, as this was quite a promising project. As you were the one who proposed it, you will be getting 5% of the shares on the farm. Meanwhile, the remaining 25% will be divided among all the inhabitants of the settlement who are willing to work there. Taylor has given the deed for the land and is waiting for us to make a team and divide work. They will later issue the funds after the creation of the team. You did receive the news, right? Michael smiled and he spoke when he heard Thomas. I did receive the news. I discussed with my wife later on and we have decided to manage the animal farm. She said it would be quite beneficial for our son later on when we can enroll him at Rose Institute. It seems she can read and count now and it has been quite a headache as she always tries various new things. Well, her cooking has certainly improved as well, so learning at the school has their pros as well. Kevin laughed as he heard Michael's concerns. Ha ha ha, well, I am quite happy with the improved cooking of our women. And they won't be conned by traitors as they can count now. Thomas sighed as he spoke nostalgically. Looking back, I am quite happy that John took over this village. It has only been 3.5 months and there are already so many changes. Kevin too sighed. That's true. At this time of the year, I would usually be worried about next harvest, taxes, and if we can make it past the next winter. Kevin lifted the mood as he spoke. Well, why don't we worry about the management team of the animal farm and move on from our past? Thomas remembered something and said, meanwhile, warn the inhabitants not to sell their shares to outsiders as they may try to profit from it. If anyone really wants to sell their shares in the future, then they can go directly to Taylor. Chapter 93. There was a banquet now after the show. Ambassador Luke tasted some food and commented, it seems the food here is quite good. From the looks of it, Ray, you weren't bragging when you publicized about the food made by Baron John's men. Marquis Ray grinned as he spoke. To be honest, you would be more surprised if you try all the delicacies over here, since I only tried some of the food made by his men when he visited me earlier. And buttering up with me won't help you. Luke laughed. Of course, I know the noble etiquette. Interests and honor triumph above everything else. Well, today I am only here to lay out the position of royal family. To be very honest, I was quite surprised by the previous event. Bishop Robert interrupted as he spoke after he heard Luke. However, from what I heard, the Baron here is quite stubborn when it comes to certain things. Luke rebuked him and spoke, well, the same can be said about Radiant Church, you guys have stringent rules as well. As for Baron John, I can't be sure, since I heard he was quite easygoing with his own people, as we can see that he reduced the taxes here to the lowest point possible so that commoners can have an improved life. I can see why he chose to reduce the taxes, as he had an alternative to knights, and these weapons would surely reduce the burden of the state. Taylor spoke as he heard the conversation. Well, our Lord did spend quite a lot when he made this weapon. I hope everyone is enjoying the banquet today. Lord will arrive in a minute. Luke smiled as he replied immediately, Butler Taylor won't have to worry, because I am sure this banquet can rival the cuisines of royal banquet. I hope you guys can introduce some of the cuisines at the royal court during celebrations. Meanwhile, I wonder if I can have a private meeting with Lord John later on. Taylor understood Luke's meaning as he heard him. Surely, Lord was quite surprised when he heard that you were present today at the event. He also hoped to have a talk with you. Both Lord and Ambassador Luke can meet later on after the banquet. Duncan couldn't hold Lookoff as Lookoff came to the front and said, ah ha 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 ha, it seems the rumors weren't filled with bias when they praised the cuisine of hope. Duncan, come and have a bite, these dishes are quite delicious, I especially liked this thing called pizza. Duncan facepalmed as he heard Lookoff after he ate the delicacies. Duncan thought, I guess I really can't control Lord Lookoff completely. I guess Lord may also be trying to judge the Baron, since the Baron has enough strength to protect himself after watching the previous show. Duncan replied as everyone on the scene was watching them, haha, I guess we came uninvited today, I hope you guys don't mind. Lookoff rebuked Duncan when he heard, hey, who says I came uninvited? I got a letter of invitation for this banquet, we just decided to come here in a disguise. Lookoff looked at others and said, as for you guys, you don't have to worry, I was only interested in this town as I heard there were a lot of new things coming out of this town. Ambassador Luke came and first saluted Lookoff. I would have already paid my respects to you, Your Highness, if I knew you were going to come over here. Lookoff watched both Luke and Robert and continued, I am quite sure both of you are full of schemes today after watching that weapon in action. You won't mind if I buy some of those weapons, right? Ambassador Luke said in a roundabout way to Lookoff, Of course Your Highness, I don't mind, however, I am not sure about how your father would react, or would Baron John really want to sell those weapons to you. Meanwhile, John just arrived when this scene was taking place. John came and lifted up the tense mood that was taking place. Today is a joyful event, so I hope everyone can have fun. Today we will be serving the newest alcohols that we made at the brewery. I hope everyone enjoys it. Taylor, order the men to serve it to everyone. The first one is a white wine called Snow and the second one is a red wine called Red Moon. This will only be served in Hope Restaurant and sold in small quantities at our stores every day. Ambassador was quite surprised, but he didn't show it at his face as he first took the white wine cup and drank it slowly. This wine is quite good, perfect for the parties. Marquis Ray also took a sip and spoke, Yes, this wine is a lot better compared to the best ones that I have in my cellar. I think I will buy both of them back to Pearl City. Frank whispered to Marquis Ray when he said it, It seems today you used your words quite astutely, because from what I know, I think you still have the royal wine that is usually produced by King's brother-in-law. Marquis Ray coughed a bit and whispered to Frank, Ahem, of course, you have to be careful with your words. I hope you won't mention that again. Frank laughed and spoke, Ha, I am only teasing you, you shouldn't be worried. Lookoff drank Red Moon and gave his opinion, I think this red wine suits me quite well, it is heavier compared to all the drinks I had tried earlier. Additionally, it also has a sweet taste that goes well with it. Lookoff continued as he tried the white wine as well, this white wine named Snow is light compared to the Red Moon, however, as Ambassador previously said, it is suited for parties where both men and women can drink. Well, I would still prefer this red wine over white wine. And in my personal opinion, both of these wines are the best wines I have tried in all these years. John laughed, Ha, I am quite glad, you guys were happy with our new wines. Meanwhile, everyone was quite shocked after hearing Lookoff, because they knew that Lookoff didn't easily give good criticism when it came to alcohol. Duncan sighed a breath of relief when he heard Lookoff, I guess Lord still has some tacit since we are here to make an alliance. Giorgio whispered to Duncan, or maybe those wines are really that good as even Lord was compelled to praise about them. You should be aware of our Lord's personality when it comes to wines. Duncan sighed as he heard Giorgio, I guess you are right as well. Since we can't expect the Lord to change overnight. Both ways it is good. Lookoff asked Taylor, So who are the creators of these wines? I would really like to meet them since they can make such wonderful wines. Taylor coughed a bit and spoke with pride, Ahem, actually, both of the formulas were given by Lord John. As you know, Lord is a pharmacist and dabbles a lot in herbs and other plants. So he incidentally created those wines is what I think. Lookoff had surprised look on his face when he heard John created both of these wines, quite an interesting guy. It seems he likes to explore a lot and create more novel and new things. Well, I hope I can get a carriage full of Red Moon. You see, I am quite fond of wines, I hope you don't reject me. Giorgio spoke to Duncan, it's quite surprising to see Lord behave in such a manner. John nodded and answered Lookoff, since today is a special occasion, we won't reject anyone on personal orders. I hope we can get back to real business. After the end of the banquet, everyone got back to real business. John smilingly greeted Marquis Ray and said, It has been quite a while, Marquis Ray and Mr. Frank. I am sure you were quite surprised by all the events that took place today. Marquis Ray smiled and replied, It surely has been an eventful day. I never thought it would be this big. I heard from Joseph that he is going to be the head of the Trading Chamber of Commerce of your domain. Okay, I will get straight to the point. I wonder if we can buy those ballistas to arm our naval fleet. I think it would be better for both of us since our trade routes would be protected more firmly and that would reduce pressure on Joseph while you guys could get a big defense contract that would also include future maintenance. I have a piece of good news for you, Duke Sapphire Rose will come to meet you personally in a few days. Because of certain circumstances he was stuck earlier and couldn't make it up over here in time today, however, it is not an official visit. From what I know it would be an opportunity for both of you. Chapter 94. John smiled and replied, I guess that won't be a problem since I have already decided to arm Joseph's fleet. I will keep in mind about Duke Sapphire's visit. Marquis Ray laughed as he mentioned Frank and Joseph. Frank will handle all the negotiations later on. Since Joseph is one of your men now, I think you might intentionally make Joseph handle all the negotiations. Well, I only hope his grandfather Carl doesn't curse him like hell. Ambassador Luke spotted Melanie as she arrived. It has been quite a while, Grand Podiwunner Melanie. I didn't see you previously at the show of ballistas. Father and a lot of people in the court still miss you. Melanie mocked Luke as she heard him. I think they miss my potions more than me and curse me more when they are in a bad mood. As for the ballistas, I wasn't interested in them as I already knew about them. Ambassador Luke tried to confirm one of the rumors as he asked her, I heard you recently decided to teach some students on pharmacy in the Rose Institute from now onwards. I guess you have decided to fight the Radiant Church actively. Melanie thought and said, well, that's the only thing that my disciple asked me in help and it was for the well-being of common people, so I thought to help him out. Recently, Eva has been too busy with the Institute, so I thought to help her out when I am present at the Institute. I guess your only goal here is the ballistas that John showed earlier. Well, you won't have to be disappointed as long as it is a fair deal. I guess he wanted to balance out the enemies he had made recently. However, don't push your luck and be too greedy when dealing with him. Ambassador Luke showed a surprised as well as a happy face when he heard that. Of course, we will give him a fair deal. I guess Lord John didn't want to compromise with Radiant Church when it came to certain ideologies of theirs where they discriminate other species. However, I will still warn you that the madness of the Radiant Church won't stop with using money as well. I guess they have taken a liking to paper and printing unlike the royal family. Melanie mocked him when she heard him. Well, you guys are no different as well when it comes to certain interests. It's just that this time you guys are only interested in ballistas, so I guess John decided to ally with a stronger force with fewer restraints. So don't be hypocritic in front of me. Melanie meanwhile thought, I guess John values the printing technique more than those ballistas. Maybe he and the Radiant Church can see what others can't. Or maybe it is Vlad and Tornwall's influence that he doesn't want to impose the Radiant Church's ideology. I guess it is the mix of both. Luke blushed as he heard her, however he didn't refute her as she knew the ins and outs of the royal palace. Luke looked at Marquis Ray and commented in front of Melanie, it seems John is done with his business talks with Marquis Ray. From the looks of Marquis Ray, I guess he got what he wanted. I think reading people's expressions has become a habit because of this job. Looking at Robert, he mocked. Looking at Bishop Robert, I think he is quite angered by the answer of Butler Taylor. However, it can be seen that he is still waiting to meet Baron John. Well, I will head first and conclude our talks. John greeted Ambassador Luke when he entered his office. Ambassador Luke smiled as he met John. It looks like you intentionally revealed your position to Grand Petitioner Melanie before you decided to meet me. Well, I will get straight to the point. The royal family would like to purchase the blueprints of the ballista you presented previously. Of course, we will offer you enough compensation for the production lines and those blueprints. Currently, we are prepared to waive off the taxes for the next 50 years and promote your aristocratic status from honorary to hereditary status. Meanwhile, your noble status would also be promoted from a baron to count. John thought, well, I don't think that would be enough since the yield in my domain would be quite negligible to the royal family. As for the noble achievement, I can easily earn them in war and get the hereditary as well as the status of the count with those weapons. I think you need to stop being stingy. The only real gain is the waiving off of the taxes, but it would be accumulated in the next 50 years. Luke blushed a bit and made an excuse. Of course, that was only our initial offer. Royal family is also prepared to give special rights to you where you can trade at the domains controlled by the royal family with half the taxes just like the dukes. You can also have access to markets of imperial capital without any restriction. And because of all the troubles that Prince Hector is giving you, and as we can't control him, if you have any special requests then we can consider them as a sort of compensation. John smiled as he heard and mentioned his request. Special requests? I would like to have the right to expand my borders in the wilds. Of course, I won't infringe upon the rights of my fellow neighboring lords as long as they don't infringe upon my rights. And as I am recruiting basic and intermediate pharmacists/podi-oneers, I would like to get in contact with some of them as I hope to counter the Radiant Church by expanding my funding and my research on the common diseases. I would also like to have access to granaries of imperial capital in case of emergencies. Of course, I will buy it at market price. Ambassador Luke, well, we can agree to your requests as long as this deal is completed before winter this year. In fact, we are even prepared to give you access to one of the magic metal mines. However, you would not be allowed to sell the blueprints and the technology to any other party. I don't think any of us would lose in this deal. John thought and agreed as he wanted access to magic metal mines. The magic metal mine is quite enticing. Okay, I will take this deal since I don't have any access to magic metal mines. I hope this deal is announced before Prince Hector's banquet, and this as well as one of my conditions. Luke asked him as new Prince Hector would certainly reveal the news soaps, and said to John indirectly, "Are you sure? Because I think this will anger Prince Hector and Duke Norman quite a lot. We won't take any guarantees on any of their actions." John shrugged and spoke without any hesitation. Well, Prince Hector is a petty person either way, so I would like to rub salt on his wounds. And you can't control them either way, so I guess it is all right. I am only interested in legal rights to expand my borders, so I guess this works. Ambassador thought on John's answer. This guy has quite the guts while at the same time ruthless to his enemies, and bolder than what we previously thought. From the looks he isn't really afraid of Duke Norman or Prince Hector. I guess he likes to hide his true intentions by appearing weak. It's good that he is only interested in the wild lands. He would have to start from scratch even if he is able to survive after this winter. Ambassador Luke smiled and nodded. Well, I guess we can conclude the deal. We can immediately sign the deal and I can immediately announce it to everyone. I will take my leave as we have concluded the deal. John too nodded. Taylor will handle the deal. I will inform him about the details. I hope you enjoy your stay at Hope. I am sure you will be satisfied with the hospitality of my men. Luke thought about the deal as he left for the party as he watched Prince Lookoff. It's good that he had friction with the Radiant Church, or it would have cost us more to get those ballistas. However, I guess it wouldn't have been possible without the magic metal mine that we offered him. I wonder why that madman is here today. I always wonder why he doesn't along well with anyone in his family. I guess the royal family has its own secrets that they intend to hide. Chapter 95. Lookoff took another glass of Red Moon as he asked Duncan, "Duncan, what do you think of the wines presented by Baron John?" It was the first time that I was this surprised after drinking a glass of wine this good. Duncan looked at Ambassador Luke, who was quite cheerful. That's true, the wines were quite good, to be honest. Meanwhile, from the looks of Ambassador Luke, it looks like he was able to achieve his goal this time around. So I am sure he offered something invaluable. Lookoff replied, "My intuition says that this ballista is not everything that we are watching right now." While observing John previously, it looked like he intentionally disclosed this weapon to get some benefits. Well, maybe I am only imagining things. As for Luke, he would only work for the interests of the royal family. He is most likely happy that it didn't cost him much to complete the deal. My instincts say they will betray John later on, however they would be in for a surprise. Duncan nodded as he gave his conclusions, though I am a person who mostly believes in evidence. However, from my experience, Lord's intuition has mostly been right, so there are some things that we don't know. Well, we are in for a show from the looks of Bishop Robert. Lookoff rebuked and mocked them, as long as they don't change their arrogant ways, no one would want to work with them. As for the show, the most they will do is intimidate him or his loved ones. You should know why they banned me and my men, as I decreased the morale of Radiant Church whenever I caught their spies and assassins, as I tortured them publicly. Those men would even renounce their faith in fear of getting castrated. The more humiliating part for them was us freeing their men after they renounced their faith. Duncan laughed as he remembered the past and sighed, "Ha ha ha, that was quite a funny affair years back. I guess it is our grudge with the current pope that we can never reconcile. I guess a lot of people will burn in Lord's vengeance, including the pope." Duncan looked at Lookoff's scary face as he decided to shut his mouth and keep quiet about the previous incident. Duncan continued as he saw Bishop Robert heading to John's room with his scepter. "Well, as far as Bishop is concerned, I don't think he will get anything even after meeting John personally. And after knowing John's personality, I know one thing for sure, he won't abandon his men even if he is a slave after knowing the previous incident." Bishop Robert thought as he looked at Luke. From the looks of Luke, it seems he was able to get a deal with this baron. It seems hard tactics won't work. "Well, we can still change our plans and adapt accordingly." Bishop Robert entered the room as Taylor greeted him inside. He shrugged him off as he sat without greeting John, as he intended to intimidate him a bit. Bishop Robert was a bald man with an average height. He had a big scepter in his hands, and like all the bishops, he was covered in a luxurious white gown. He had an air of authority and superiority around him that naturally made him stand out in front of others. He was a bit fat on the physique and wore a lot of accessories that looked like it boosted his magical powers. John still didn't mind it as he greeted Bishop. Greeting to Bishop Robert. "I hope you are doing well." Bishop Robert took it as a sign of submission from John as he smirked and said, "I guess you still know your manners." John still smiled as he said with a firm and ruthless glint on his face as he kept holding Robert's hand tightly, "However, I would like to say to you that I won't abide by your conditions if it involves me deserting my relations with Master Vlad and the other races, or your interest in my printing techniques." This time John's smile resembled more like Vlad's smile that was quite scary to others who knew about his past deeds. However, it would seem innocent to the ones who didn't know about him. Bishop Robert sweated as he took back his hand and replied, "It seems you are quite different from what is said in the rumors. You have the eyes of a predator. Okay, we won't talk about your relations with those scummy demons, we will purely talk business. What do you say about providing printing services to the Radiant Church? As we know that you intend to hoard the printing technology, we won't ask for it, we will provide you more than the current market prices. We want you to print our Bible in large quantities so that we can provide it to every head cleric of the Radiant Church, and we want it printed on those new papers that your men created recently. And what if we can provide you more information on Prince Hector, then will you still consider our proposal?" John thought and decided to play the waiting game. "Well, it will only shorten some time compared to manual labor. Are you still okay with that?" Bishop was still satisfied as he agreed to John's proposal. "Well, we only want 1,000 books printed that we can provide it to all our men. Even if you can provide us with 100 to 120 books a month, we hope you finish it by 2 years. It takes a lot of money, time, and resources if we do it manually or ask people in the capital to do it. The biggest problem is hiring people, so we will provide you with money or other things as you won't have to worry." John seriously, "Well, what is the information that you have on Prince Hector?" Bishop Robert laughed and handed over some documents to John. "Well, from our sources, we know that one of Prince Hector's men was able to infiltrate Ron's workshop and was able to steal a part of blueprints of your soap-making machines. I am sure that the spy has already escaped your borders." Bishop Robert grinned. "From your looks, it can be seen that you were conned by that scammer from royal family. Am I right?" John looked at the documents and thought, it seems George was worried about the infiltrators that he might have encountered at his workshop and wanted to meet me previously. I guess today's meeting was still a bit late. Well, it was good that I took back the blueprints of the guns previously. Well, it is not a big matter as they still aren't in the possession of the full blueprints of the soap-making machine or how to use it." John smiled and replied to Bishop Robert, Happy cooperation, Lord Bishop. Bishop Robert grinned as thought about the conversation. I think I was at least able to make a crack between both the royal family and this baron. This meeting was still better than nothing. The royal family and this boy lying would be a nightmare for us. Bishop Robert left as he spoke these words. This meeting was worthwhile. I hope to meet you again in the future if there is any business. Bishop Robert took out a token and gave it John before leaving. You can always meet me at our northern headquarters at Dolores by showing this token. I am quite sure you will need our help in the future. Meanwhile, we also have a lot of information which we usually sell. I will be taking my leave now. Chapter 96. Lookoff entered John's room and sat on the chair without any formalities. Meanwhile his butler Duncan greeted John and stood on the side. John didn't mind it as he already knew about Lookoff's personality. Taylor prepared some snacks for Lookoff. Lookoff sat leisurely and commented, looking at that scum face Robert leaving and your grave face right now, I guess he pulled a fast one over you from the way both of you are reacting. Well, I won't talk about others and since everyone has left now so we can chat in leisure without any headaches. This town of yours has surprised me quite a lot, unlike other domains that I know of. This city of yours is cleaner than the Imperial City as I can say this with experience. I wanted to know if you are interested in making a deal with me. John seriously said, may I know what kind of deal would it be before giving my word? However, you can be rest assured that I won't have biases when dealing with anyone, I only make judgments based on my interactions. As for your guess about Bishop Robert, you were quite right. I am only going to confirm his news with my men later on. Lookoff signaled Duncan to bring some documents and spoke about Bishop Robert. Well, if it is to break up your alliance with royal family then you can trust him because he only breaks up alliance via using facts and multiple investigations that help him instilling doubts regarding their partners. Duncan, bring in those documents and brief him on our deal. Well, after watching your papers that were circulating among the academicians at your institute, I guess you have a pretty good source of making them, so I hope to buy those papers and sell them at a premium in the western part of Elias Kingdom in the black market. Although Duke Blackwolf has a lot of power, he can't control the black market that we run. Would you be interested in selling us those papers? From our rumors, a lot of nobles were interested in those smooth white papers, so I guess it can pretty much become a luxury item among the upper class. And as we saw an opportunity to raise more funds, we hope to make this deal with you that would also help you cover the western market. And when it comes to the workings of the black market in Elias, no one would claim to be better than us. John nodded, well, that won't be a problem, and as Duke Blackwolf isn't allowing me to penetrate the western market, I might as well take your help since he is already killing our men in the seas via his pirates. Duncan only asked him now after completing the previous deal as he thought it would be quite rude if he laid his eyes on the ballistas straight away. We are also very much interested in those ballistas that we saw earlier. So we also wanted to buy those ballistas. I don't know if it is possible. John thought a bit as he laid out his conditions. If I can get access to more information about Duke Blackwolf and Prince Hector then I won't take anything off the table. Duncan looked at Lookoff before confirming anything. Lookoff laughed as he saw Duncan. Ha ha ha, what are you looking at? Does this even need my approval? Go on and agree to the deal. I just want to arrive at Hector's banquet and see his face later on. It would be quite amusing to watch his face after this debacle at North Frontier City. Lookoff then amusingly asked John, John, previously I heard one of your slaves killed Evans' Knight Captain Marcus just a few days ago. Is it right or these are just some rumors spread by people? John smiled as he asked Lookoff, do you really not know about this incident? Well, he is not my slave but my first knight, so I intended to protect even if you or the king wanted to kill him if he was guilty on baseless charges. Both Duncan and Lookoff were quite surprised after hearing John's answer and got some gist of his personality and thinking. Lookoff laughed loudly as said these words, ha 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 ha, you are quite an interesting fellow. I won't blame you for protecting him even if I tried to kill him. I guess we do have something similar when it comes to certain ideas. Well, from the way you are distributing this weapon I guess you have a better weapon. As we are quite similar, I will warn you earlier, keep this deal about me buying your ballistas secret because the royal family might implicate you for selling me these weapons. I intend to use them for a certain incident, so I hope you will be prepared with your stronger weapon later on if they come for you. And if you are ready to sell me those ballistas, then I can sell you some precious information which most people wouldn't know or wouldn't dare to sell after knowing it. I will bluff the royal family and others to make them think more, that you sold me the ballistas while you only have to remain quiet. Duncan was quite surprised after Lookoff said the previous words. It seems Lord has certainly taken a liking to this kid. I wonder how long can it last? John asked, I wonder what are you going to use this weapon for, mind if you can divulge a bit. Lookoff showed a mysterious smile as he said, I want to use it to bring a certain mouse out of his hole. I guess it is to invade a castle, even I am not sure and wondering which mouse should I bring out first. Well, you don't have to worry about it since I will take my sweet time when it comes to planning. John nodded, okay, I don't think there would be any problem selling those ballistas to you guys. I wonder what sort of information it would be this time around. You gave me a lot of surprises last time around. Lookoff signaled Duncan and spoke, Duncan, give those papers to him and brief him the details about the assassination that would take place in a few days. Meanwhile, are you interested in collaborating in making drugs with us to counter to the Radiant Church? If you are interested, then only have to contact Giorgio, as I have given him all the rights. Giorgio will also be our point of contact here at North Frontier City from now on, and you can ask him if you have any queries. You can also send me letters via him. We will be leaving as I want to attend Hector's entertaining show this time around. Come, Duncan, let's hurry up. It was evening now after all the events finished at North Frontier City. However, the city was full of brim and festivities. At the evening same day after all the nobles left, John asked Taylor, is George already here? Taylor replied without any hesitation, he is already waiting at our guest house in the mansion. It seems he wanted to have some serious talk. John sighed and commented as he heard Taylor, bring him in. I guess he is worried about spies infiltrating his workshop nowadays. I guess I took notice of this information too late. John met George after getting some confirmation from Bishop Robert about the spies that infiltrated their workshops. George met John this time unlike previously, he was quite respectful to John. After watching today's event, he was quite sure that John would lead his domain just like the second Lore family. He was quite relaxed after watching John's show of power unlike previously where he felt pressured a lot. John sighed, I guess I already know why you are here today, I just recently got news of the spies. Anyway, tell me, why were you so anxious to meet me previously? George sighed as he agreed and narrated about his previous month. The incident first started after I was able to easily hire a blacksmith from Imperial City 1 month back. Previously, due to those weird machines you previously asked me to make, and as I wasn't able to make it, so I thought about training my men into magic blacksmithing to ease our operations and cope with situations for the future, so I decided to hire them. At first, I thought it was quite normal to be able to hire a high-quality magic blacksmith at mediocre prices. However, it was only later that I noticed the differences. Chapter 97. John nodded, continue, I am listening, where did you find the differences? George nodded and continued, after my investigations, it was actually the top magic blacksmiths of the Imperial City who were coming to my workshop at mediocre wages. That was the first time when I became cautious. Because from what I know, these guys are quite arrogant and won't even look at our border town and mostly work directly for nobles. So I guessed they were mostly disciples of other master blacksmiths who were only here as spies. Recently, I spotted one of Duke Blackwolf's head blacksmith's disciple, and that was when I was sure that most of these guys were spies of other nobles or even the royal family. I guess a lot of creations from our town must have been the cause of their interest. I am quite sure that it is the nobles of other domains who are sending those spies at my workshop. John nodded and asked, okay, I got the gist of the situation, are those guys still working at your workshop? George remembered, well, there were 3 people working at my workshop, but after the ceremony, Today two of them couldn't be seen after the recent event. I guess they might be enjoying the festivities. Meanwhile, the third guy, as usual, is quite energetic whenever he comes to work. However, I have made sure to destroy all the previous blueprints so you don't have to be worried about them. However, I worry about the safety of my men and myself, as they might kidnap me if they are spies and get desperate. John nodded and spoke to Taylor, whom the two of them might have most probably left the town. As for the third one, he might not be a spy but someone who is genuinely interested. Taylor, did you get the spy at Ron's workshop? Taylor spoke. Our handed over the reports. We were able to catch 2 spies from Ron's shop, and from our investigations, they were spies of 2 marquis in the East who are also involved in soap business. I guess they wanted to get something out because of market pressures. And it seems Ron is quite dense when it comes to hiring men, as he easily trusts them, and this is also one of the reasons our soap-making blueprints were leaked to Prince Hector. John nodded and spoke, okay. From now on tell Jake to keep an eye on people who are being hired at both George and Ron's shop. They must at least have a background check. We might actually be able to spot some spies. However, don't catch them if they are spotted. We will use them in the future purposes by feeding false information. Convey him these matters later on. I hope you don't mind surveillance of your recruits. George smiled and agreed, no, I won't. I would be grateful, as it would keep me and my men safe from any potential danger. The next day, there was great turmoil in the whole of Elias' kingdom as Ambassador Luke announced their deal with Baron John. Many people were surprised that a single weapon was able to alleviate John's honorary status to hereditary, while his status as a baron was promoted to account that included giving him expansion rights to the wilds in the north. This very announcement cemented John's status in the whole of Elias' kingdom, as this deal solidified the fact that his new weapon was the real deal, and hence the royal family already made a move. A lot of nobles were quite astonished after hearing that the royal family had signed a deal with Baron John, which signified that his new weapon was a real big deal for royal family at least. At a certain guest house, Count Casey already arrived at Prince Hector's banquet and gossiped with other nobles. It seems he intentionally revealed that weapon before Prince Hector's son festival banquet, and the fact that there was an announcement meant that he intended to ruin Prince Hector's banquet. One of the fellow noble Marquis Chris spoke as he got interested in gossip. I recently heard rumors of Duke Evan getting humiliated at the hands of that upstart. I wonder what sort of weapon he offered to the royal family that they promoted him to account, while they also reduced his taxes compared to the Duke's. Viscount Rob thought as he laid out his thoughts, that is not all, the taxes in his domain were also waived off for the next 50 years. These privileges are mostly given to the lord, contributing most when a big war between countries take place. Chris thought and laid his hypothesis. I am very sure they made a weapon matching the Lore family years ago. I would say it didn't cost anything to the royal family this time around apart from the promotion deed of that noble. Mind you, this lord only has a small land that is not even comparable to other barons, so I guess royal family wouldn't even mind waiving his taxes for the next 100 years. However, I am very curious about how would Prince Hector reacts after hearing this news, and I am very sure Baron Mendez might be glad for not taking any action against that upstart, or that upstart will get a reason to invade his domain. Count Casey showed a mysterious smile as he remarked, well, I am sure he would still be in a dilemma right now, as he is in a hot place right now that is making him money, while others are either salivating to invade that place or take revenge for their past humiliation. And from the way the royal family completed this deal so fast, I am sure this weapon is quite worthy. Well, recently I visited that restaurant called Hope, and it was quite worth it to visit that place apart from all the slaves and those demi-humans. I am glad I was calm when I visited that place instead of raging about slaves and demi-humans, or else I too would have suffered the same fate as Duke Evan. I heard he is currently in bed and is heading somewhere. Count Casey gave a sigh of relief when he mentioned his previous encounter. Viscount Rob was a musclehead as he spoke with a proud smile about North Frontier City. Well, that town is not bad, it is quite clean even compared to the Imperial City. As for the slaves or demi-humans, I don't have any problems with them, they were quite well-mannered, unlike the arrogant chefs of the restaurants working in the Imperial City that is currently funded by the royal family. they even expect big tips and praises for the shit they make. Compared to food served at Hope, that restaurant seems nothing to me nowadays. I am only going to North Frontier City when it comes to good food." Count Casey laughed as he heard Rob. "Ha ha ha, even I would have to agree to that, however, don't speak this in front of others. Meanwhile, when did you visit North Frontier Town? I never got any information about you visiting that city." Rob grinned and narrated his events. "Ho ho, well, I was disguised as a trader when I visited over there. That town felt quite better compared to the imperial capital. How can I say, I think it felt freer, unlike the fake masks that we try to show in the imperial city." Marquis Chris seriously advised them after hearing their gossip. "Well, I would still try to remain away from that city. Recently my father warned me to stay away from that city, and I think it has become an eye of the storm after that previous debacle of that upstart with Duke Evan. Additionally, now they have a weapon that would interest a lot of people, not to forget the fact that they have those soaps, papers and that new agent with which they are making those roads." Count Casey nodded and spoke. "That's true, I guess I will remain on the fence this time around at Prince Hector's conspiracy. I would not want to implicate myself, as my domain is near that upstart's domain. We don't even know the real firepower of that weapon called ballista, however I can guess it is pretty useful from the fact that royal family immediately jumped on that weapon. I am glad I am not in Baron Mendez's position, as it would be quite a dicey situation on balancing between both Prince Hector and Baron John, no, I mean Count John." Chapter 98. Chris smiled as he spoke. "I wonder, as I think I would have liked this situation, as I would try to squeeze as much as possible and then side with a more powerful side in the end. I am quite sure, there are a lot of conspiracies still going on behind the scenes that we don't know." Prince Hector was in a very angry mood as he threw a fit to his butler Alistair. "What the fuck is going on? Explain to me clearly. How was that upstart able to make such a deal with the courtiers and father? Were they unaware of my conflict with that upstart?" Alistair directly gave the report and spoke. This came directly from Ambassador Luke, who was given the right to take over if any changes took place. "Your father was quite happy with Ambassador Luke after watching the effects of the weapon and the meager amount that they paid, unlike the previous time when they coughed up quite a sum when they bribed the elders of Lore family. They also coughed up quite a sum to convince the head of Lore family, as there would only be chaos for Lore family if they rebelled." Hector rebuked when he heard Alistair, while he didn't even bother to read the report. "Well, Lore family had a lot of power and hence the price. There would have been a civil war if we didn't give anything. I don't think there was even a need to deal with that upstart." Alistair stated the current situation to Hector as he tried to calm him down. "Lord, you are forgetting that Duke Blucia's men are currently stationed at North Frontier City, and recently the Duke announced their full support for them. From their elders, we got to know that they already made a big deal of ballistas with them, however, the details are not clear. I guess the royal family at least wanted to acquire the technology of this ballista instead of someone else. Lord, we still don't need to worry." Prince Hector raged in anger as he heard Alistair. "How can I calm down? I prepared so much and all for nothing. That madman might already be laughing as his men delivered us his letter confirming that he is coming to this banquet. Can't you see how much face have I already lost? And that pussy Baron is already showing signs of not following our orders in hopes of not getting burned in this tussle." Alistair still had a calm face as he spoke. "Well, we can still turn this situation around. You might have already known that Duke Fjord's son Evan was injured and poisoned by Count John's slave at North Frontier City. We can make use of this situation." Hector interrupted him and rebuked. "You think it would be this easy? Duke Fjord and Black Wolf have irreconcilable differences, and they would never work with each other against an upstart at least. And that buffoon Evan also has his brothers who would block him from doing anything. Nothing would come out of it. We at least can't make a coordinated attack." Alistair smiled as he laid out his plans. "What if Evan accidentally dies because of the poison from that slave's knife?" Hector thought as he spoke with a big smile. Now this seems interesting. However, I think he has a big guard that protects him while we don't even know where he is currently. I don't think it would be possible." Alistair continued with a mysterious smile as he bought a letter. When I mentioned our dilemma to his eldest brother Ralph, he first came out and gave us the suggestion as well as Evan's travel route, as he didn't like the idea of supporting that upstart. Even though he might want to oppose Evan, but one of the big reasons that he didn't like Count John was that he made too many enemies in such a short period of time, so he is unlike the usual aristocrats and takes decisions more with his emotions unlike his head. So what do you think, Master? Hector nodded. The plan is good. However, he is too far away, isn't he? I don't think the plan might suffice. Alistair gave a proud smile as he heard it. Well, our assassins were near North Frontier Town when that incident took place, so I instead told them to tail Evan and his entourage. I would only need your permission to kill him and we might as well have a grand alliance. At the same time, all the blame will be shared by that upstart and his slave. With 3 dukes against him, even the royal family might think twice, and I am very sure that your father wouldn't even bother about that upstart. He might as well try to take a bite out of him. As for the other conspirators, we don't have to worry about them, we only have to pressure that Baron so he heeds our orders and doesn't ruin our plans, as North Frontier City is only connected via his domain and we should vary about the plans of other countries. Hector gave a hearty laugh after he heard the plan. Ha ha ha, as expected of my chief strategist, you never let me down. I might as well announce about the new soaps we got from our spy to rub salt on his wounds. Alistair smiled as he heard Hector's praise and immediately asked for confirmation. I guess my plan is well liked by Lord. I will immediately order Simon for assassinating Evan. His men are also escorting the spy who managed to get part of the blueprints of the soap-making machine from Ron's factory. Hector nodded satisfactorily and gave his orders. Yes, immediately bring that spy and tell Simon to assassinate Evan. I will see how he escapes this ordeal after offending me. We will also announce the production of our soaps from now on. Even though that upstart managed quite well to ruin my plans, however, he is too naive to think we won't try anything. Duke Blackwolf was at his court in the western capital, Arctos Midland. He looked like a buff man in his 50s with brown hair. He was wearing his armor as usual at his throne. Blackwolf seriously asked his finance minister, Justin, so how are the sales of our soaps from now on? Justin nervously answered whenever this question was asked to him, well, 20% of our sales have mostly been affected by those new soaps in the kingdom, and it is particularly those big nobles who have reduced their orders. Duke Blackwolf with a scary face asked another question, what about the pirates that we have funded recently in the east? Are there any breakthroughs on their trade routes? Finance Minister sighed as he reported, but this time it was less stiff as he had some good news. None from our information. Morgan family and Marquis Ray have increased their funding and the protection of their fleets. It is particularly hard to penetrate eastern waters because of the influence of Duke Fjord and southern waters because of that half-elf. However, there is some good news. Blackwolf ears perked as he heard his last sentence because these days he only heard bad news. Continue, what is the good news? Justin smiled as he reported, from our sources we got some information. It looks like that upstart has yet again offended a big aristocrat, and this time it is Duke Fjord's son Evan overprotecting his slave. I think this might be our chance at disrupting the north-south trade. Blackwolf sighed as he heard that. Nat, I don't think we can still ally and coordinate our attacks against him because of our differences with Duke Fjord after the last war where I ruined his chances to get more merit. The finance minister gave both the letters as he smiled and said, however, there is an interesting emergency letter that I got from Prince Hector just a while back, and I think this may be our chance to make some breakthrough. It was written by Alistair and personally stamped by Prince Hector. What do you think of this plan, my lord? There are 2 letters, one is particularly addressed to you only. Duke Blackwolf laughed hysterically as he remarked, ha ha ha, good, good, such an incredible turn of events. It seems that gods still haven't abandoned me and my stars. However, there is some bad news as well. From the looks, it can be seen that Prince Hector changed his plans because of the upstart making quite a significant weapon that even the royal family was compelled to buy it. Justin asked hesitantly, what would be our answer this time? Blackwolf smiled as he gave his decision, we won't be directly involved in his assassination, we will only give them support from the sidelines with information and supplies. Prince Hector's assassins would do the actual killing. It looks like Evan is heading to one of our communication points because of his fight with Count John. With a confused face, Justin asked Duke, Count John? I think he is a baron. Duke Blackwolf gave a mysterious smile as he gave the other letter to Justin. Read it yourself, you will understand. Chapter 99. After reading the letter, Justin understood the circumstances. It looks like that weapon is a real deal from the way the royal family conducted their business so fast. Such a foolish man, it would have been better for him to keep this weapon a secret and use it in times of need. Justin later gravely added, however, if that weapon is so potent, then wouldn't it cause a lot of casualties to our men? Duke Blackwolf gave a mysterious smile as he gave his conclusion, well, it would have been different if it were only us targeting them. However, this time he has made a lot of enemies, and I am sure that even the royal family would like to take a bite out of that juicy trade which is taking place at North Frontier Town. I heard he has also started making superior paper in his domain. Meanwhile, we can also use Max from the Morgan family to know about the whereabouts and the dealings of his brother Joseph. And the very fact that Evan's brother is giving out his whereabouts means, we don't need to get our hands dirty. There will be a good show in the north from now on. However, a lot of people will be burned from the way I am looking at the events that are taking place. Justin curiously asked, why do you say that, Lord? Blackwolf spoke in a grave tone, you might not know about that man Vlad, but I very well know about that man. And from the way he is deploying his important men at North Frontier Town, I am sure a big event would take place. Last time around when we attacked their caravans we lost all of our men. Who knew he would deploy his elites to protect that caravan? This is also one of the reasons why I stopped targeting the soap caravans going northwest to Fire Abyss Kingdom. Evan's eldest brother Ralph said in the court to his father, it seems Evan once again ruined our plans because of his ego. It was good that we can at least start our attacks on the Morgan family fleet with the premise of taking revenge for lost reputation at North Frontier Town. I heard Marcus died at the hands of a slave. What are your opinions, father? Duke Fjord was a short man of 5 feet and 5 inches, he was wearing a full armor which was blue, from the looks it seemed like an armor customized for naval battles. He was sitting in his courtroom. Duke Fjord thought and said, it seems there was a reason why that baron intended to protect that slave. You might think that Marcus was a nobody, but in terms of strength alone he came top 5 in our knight order. Ralph smiled as he spoke some unpleasant words. I don't think that Darius would be too happy hearing the death of his brother. Duke Fjord furrowed his eyebrows as he heard this. He spoke as he assured his men in the court, of course, we will take our revenge for their despicable display in killing Marcus with unfair means by using demonic assassin techniques. Immediately order our men to raid any of Morgan family ships from now on in eastern seas when they cross the northern and southern belt. I will see how long he can protect a slave when their pockets start hurting. That upstart will rub his nose at our feet to stop these attacks. I will make sure he faces 10 times the humiliation that my son and our men faced over there. Ralph smiled as he thought of his father's orders. Humph, I am quite sure you are happy for the first time because of Evan's actions since you legitimately got a chance to rob their ships. I wonder how Prince Hector will fare at Evan's assassination. I hope they take some action so I can get rid of that pesky kid hogging all the resources from father and only focus on eldest brother, Grim. I wonder what does father sees in him with all the ruckus he usually makes. Well, he will still die either way, if not, I can still humiliate him because of that previous incident in North Frontier Town. This time Ambassador Luke personally met King Lionheart at his mansion. Lionheart heartily laughed as he greeted Luke, ha ha ha, you made quite a good deal with that novice. We practically didn't pay him anything apart from magic metal mine for the blueprints and the production line of those ballistas. Those very specs of the ballista get me excited so much that I can't even wait to get my hands on them. It's good that we got it cheap. Luke smiled and spoke confidently, well, he was in a bind because of offending all the dukes left and right, not to mention Prince Hector, so it was not hard to get such a deal out of him. However, I don't think Prince Hector will be happy with such a turn of events. From this deal, I can see that Count John particularly targeted Prince Hector's banquet with an intent to ruin his plan, and previously he also offended Duke Evan, so I guess he revealed his ace to show his power as well as to let people think twice before targeting him and not to take him as a pushover. While it was good that his ideologies didn't meet with Radiant Church or we would have been in a bind. Lionheart nodded. It's true that it was for him not having the same ideologies as Radiant Church. I think he got that weapon from that dwarf Tornwall. Even if Duke Blissia of Fire Abyss Kingdom gets this weapon, we shouldn't be worried about this noble anymore. That guy has quite the guts to humiliate a royalty, since he intended to target Hector with this announcement. I guess he knew about Hector's nature and hence the backlash. Anyway, I heard he has recently started a university with an intent to cover all occupations and commoners at his domain, and those old men at Imperial University are raging just because some of the teachers left them and that increased their work. Luke thought when heard about Hector from the king, well, your nature is the same, isn't it, in the genes? Luke then replied, I guess those old men felt a little loss of their power and authority since a lot of guys left because of not getting chances over all the years. I think one reason might be those guys openly defying them after bottling up all those experiences all these years. When I was at North Frontier Town, I saw the Rose Institute. It was quite bigger than our Imperial University. I guess those old men didn't like this fact the most. Lionheart furrowed his brows when he heard Rose Institute being bigger than Imperial University. I wonder how were they able to fund and make such a big structure in such a short period of time. It seems there are a lot of secrets in North Frontier City. As for those old men, it's true they were more angry at the fact that many of those men cursed them and talked ill about them in broad daylight before leaving for Rose Institute. Luke spoke without any care as he expressed his thoughts. Well, as a foodie, I would like to be stationed at that city for all my life. Their food is quite good, as I heard in the rumors. I guess he is earning a lot because the food in his domain is quite good. Even the commoners making food at the stalls are worthy to be appreciated. I guess Count John was very successful in spreading the food culture in his city, which has increased the interest of people in making delicious dishes at that town. Lionheart thought neutrally and spoke, it seems even I will have to try the food at Hope sometime in the future. Luke remembered the wine and told the king, however, I think you should be worried about your brother-in-law if that guy decides to sell that alcohol in huge quantities that he served at his banquet the last time. They were particularly strong and had a better taste than all the wines that I ever drank here or outside Elias. However, he indicated at the banquet that those wines would only be sold at his restaurants and inside North Frontier City in small quantities to everyone, so people can't profit from buying in huge bulk. It can be seen that he decided to back off in this business because he knew of your brother-in-law and was quite cautious if we misunderstood. King Lionheart laughed as he heard him, ha ha ha, it looks like he intentionally said those words so he won't antagonize us. Well, you know how we work, right? Just make sure to secure those blueprints. Did you have any more news from that banquet? Chapter 100. Ambassador thought as he remembered. Looking back, it seems Prince Lookoff was also present there. He also said that it was the best alcohol he ever drank in his life. He was quite happy with both the wines. Lionheart furrowed his brows as heard about Lookoff. I never heard of him traveling there. Why was he there? Do you know any particular details? And why weren't our men successfully able to tail him? Luke spoke. He was invited there by Count John, that is what I heard from his own mouth, so I guess he wanted to take a look at this town as he came in a disguise. Well, if that foolish count sells that weapon to Prince Lookoff, then we can have a legitimate reason to oppose him. Lionheart murmured, I would rather hope Lookoff doesn't get his hands on those weapons and cause more trouble for us. It would be better if he dies at the hands of his own brothers after going against us all those years ago. That son of mine has bought me enough humiliation all these years. And it seems we have to be cautious of that count since he is keeping good relations with that count. Luke acted as if he didn't hear anything from the king. I guess the grudge between them is deep, even Dad never speaks anything about that incident. It seems only a few people know about it and those who know keep their mouths shut about it. The day of Prince Hector's banquet. The banquet was taking place in the northern part of the Elias kingdom. People from all over the kingdom were coming in their most luxurious carriages. Today's audience also meant where their allegiances lied. Viscount Rob spoke, "Today's Sun Festival will be quite eventful, don't you think so?" Marquis Chris thought, yes, it seems that upstart had a plan when to counter Prince Hector and hence his announcement just before this banquet. I guess he intended to target this banquet as people will refrain from joining Prince Hector's conspiracy against him. I guess many are feeling that they would be burned as pawns if they follow Prince's orders this time around. The very big reason behind their hesitance is the royal family's announcement 5 days back, which made them think that this weapon might be quite powerful, that even the royal family gave enough face to that upstart while also giving him various benefits while neglecting Prince Hector. Count Casey, I guess you are right, this was also one of the reasons why I decided to sit on fence this time around. As I don't want to get burned in this fight between that Count John, the southern forces and the whole northern and western front. Though Duke Norman might get offended, however, this time I am not alone in defying him. I perfectly know the difference between a suicide and a well-calculated plan. And in this case, I would be doing suicide if I decide to bear the brunt and be the vanguard for others. Rob gave his hypothesis, I guess Baron Mendez might still be envying your position, and from his nature, you might well know how he pussies out when taking important decisions. Chris rebuked and spoke disdainfully, well, you don't have to worry about him, I am quite sure he is only acting to get more benefits from Prince Hector and Duke Norman. Casey smiled, well, let's see how it unfolds and what are the cards Prince is prepared to show to keep his face after such a big humiliation. I am sure many of his allies would want an answer to keep faith in Prince Hector, and one of the reasons to support Prince Hector for the throne. It seems unlike what we guessed. Baron Mendez is more enthusiastic this time around, unlike his previous self before the start of the banquet. Casey commented after watching Baron Mendez coming to the banquet. Chris laughed as he spoke, I am sure he was offered something big as he is making that happy face. As I said earlier, I would have loved to be in this position if I was Baron Mendez, however, we don't know what actions Duke Sapphire Rose might take, as he too has a lot of interests in soap trade, and now after hearing about those ballista I am sure he would not like to see his ally in deep trouble. Rob reminded them, well, he is usually known for his generosity and backing up his allies if possible, you still haven't forgotten how he backed up Marquis Ray during his previous wars. He also helped him a lot politically and diplomatically during his younger years. Casey rebuked, humph, that half-elf still would be sore in the eyes of royal family, that half-elf only became the duke because of conspiring against his brothers and grabbing the throne. Rob, I don't think we know anything concrete about that, as I heard Sapphire's brothers conspired against each other, which was one of the reasons why he was able to legitimately take the throne. And even if he conspired against brothers, isn't it common in big aristocratic households, and this only proves the mettle of Duke Rose. Chris spoke as he spotted a man with Prince Hector. Anyway, let's see who is that man with Prince Hector. I am sure that man might be important as he is introducing him here. In the mansion, Prince Hector introduced that guy who stole the blueprints and gave it to royal family. Guys, let me introduce everyone here to a newcomer. He is Master Sylvan. Recently we made a deal with him, and from now on he will be researching and making new types of soaps with us. There is another good news for everyone. Because of the increasingly competitive market, we have decided to ally with Duke Black Wolf. We have decided that we will cooperate and research on soaps as a team from now on. We have already decided to launch new types of soaps 15 days from now, so I hope everyone is hopeful. Casey laughed as he realized something. It seems, this was one of the aces he was hiding from that upstart. I guess Prince Hector's men were still able to bribe someone from that upstart's workshop. From this, it can be seen that he is intentionally provoking Count John. Chris sighed as he too concluded, looks like it is true, from the way Prince Hector is openly flaunting his spying prowess I guess he is still feeling proud. Let's see if this guy called Master Sylvan is assassinated or not by that count. Rob noticed someone and remarked, "Hey look, even Duke Norman and Princess Mary is here today. I guess Duke Norman wanted a pie out of that North Frontier town." Chris rebuked as spoke, "Even that lackey of Duke Blackwolf, Finance Minister Justin is here today to attend this banquet. I guess some alliances are already made and some are already forming." Rob, hey, why would Duke Norman support Prince Hector when he was interested in Miss Diana as well? Casey rebuked him as he spoke harshly to Rob. Rob, were you seriously living under a rock all this time? Of course, it is for political gain, and isn't it normal for kings to have multiple wives? Even Duke Norman has 3 wives. I guess that is also one of the reasons why they weren't opposed to Prince Hector trying to get Miss Diana's favor. And the most important part of this fact is Miss Diana is that she is the only child of Duke Lucius, so I guess he saw a lot of potential gains. Rob wondered as he spoke mindlessly, "I see, however, I don't think my mother would be happy if she saw my dad with another woman." Chris sighed as he explained to him, "Well, that is because your father married into your mom's family." Rob, you are quite dense when it comes to certain matters. It doesn't need to be said to understand some things. Rob jolted as he understood and remarked, "Ah, right, I forgot about that. It looks like there will be a lot of plans going to take place today from the way people are gathering here." Casey spotted Prince Lookoff arriving and spoke to the lot, "It seems even that Madman is here today. I guess things will get interesting from now on. A lot of unknown characters have shown up over here at this banquet. I guess that Ballista has stirred up a lot of waves and people in and out around the kingdom." Chris sighed, "Well, from the way he is waving that invitation like a hand fan, it looks he wants to make a mockery of Prince Hector today. I heard he was previously at Count John's place. And from his good mood, it looks like Count John acceded to his demands, or maybe who knows. As for waves, it already took off long back, I think.